Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Caring Conversations. I am Rachel Hill here with Foresight, joined as always by the wonderful, very orange background, my good buddy, and of course, care team member Jordan Evans. How are you, sir?
I'm great. I am great. I'm happy to be back. It just feels like a short week every time we like. This is how these are my how I mark the week. Instead of weekends, I have caring
it's
conversations.
our Wednesday meetups that everyone else gets to join in on
Yeah,
and
of course. You're all guests. Like we would keep doing this if we didn't have this.
very true. So, Jordan, I want to get into it. We have an awesome, awesome episode, a very special guest who, dare I say, stalked to get on the show because I was such a fan of what they are doing. We have Rob Liebreich here of President and CEO of Goodwin Living, and I'm so excited. We're going to bring him on right after our intro. Yes. There he is.
Yes.
Rob, hello and welcome. And my apologies. I didn't tell you it was like a superhero themed dress up. I mean, you look fantastic, but I'm sorry I didn't get you the memo in time.
I happen to have a cape on, Rachel and Jordan, so I'll keep it hidden though for the conversation. Great to be with you. Thank you for
I love it. Yes, Rob, thank you for joining us. So, we have a whole conversation planned around basically this. It feels like what you're doing is outside of the box, but actually should really be, in our opinion, I know Jordan's going to speak to this, but the standard for how communities should operate. But first, let's just back up a little bit, just for anyone in our audience who isn't familiar with you, but I'm sure a lot of people are. But please share a little bit about your background, please.
Yeah, certainly. So I've been honored to be in service to older adults for over 20 years now. And it started actually coming back from a worldwide trip that I was taking with my now wife. And we came back to Oregon, where I grew up. And my dad's mom was moving into a senior living community. And before that move could take place, I sat bedside with her as she passed away. And it really changed my life, and really in a profound way called me to this work. And so I subsequently enrolled in school, back in school for an MBA with a senior care and housing focus, and have had the pleasure and joy of being in service to older adults, as I said, for now over 20 years.
Wow. I feel like a lot of people get into this industry because of something so personal. So that's beautiful. And thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And Rob, I want to dive into some really, really big things you guys have going on at Goodwin, but I want to start with, and I know this, like, Jordan, you're going to be thrilled because I'm starting off with the topic you wanted to dive into like right away. So I want to talk about this pay increase you did, Rob, pretty much across the board. Break this down for us. First of all, how much did you increase pay by? And how did you do this? Did you find like coins under the cushion? Where did this come from? Because we know this is a struggle. So tell us all about it, please.
Certainly. And just to give context, so I work with a really wonderful organization called Goodwin Living, and we've been in place since 1967 in service to older people here in Northern Virginia and serving part of Washington, D.C. as well. And so we're a faith-based not-for-profit. We operate, at the time I arrived, we were operating 2 communities directly. Today we operate 3 communities directly. And when I arrived, our pay structure, we were paying $11.75 an hour at a base pay level, and then $13.75 an hour to our certified nursing assistants. And actually, as Jordan and I both share this history of working with Asbury Methodist Village or Asbury communities, there's a gentleman, Manny Ocasio, who was there, who was in charge of the HR function for a while. And Manny was really adamant about driving towards a living wage and a competitive wage when I was at Asbury. And I remembered that journey and that request that he had. And I said to myself, and I was in the executive director role at a large campus with Asbury Methodist Village. And I thought to myself, gosh, if we could just pace this out a little bit more, I'd be happy to get there. But, going as fast as you want, it's going to be really hard operationally to be successful. Like, we're going to have to cut back on services from other places. I'm not sure how to make it all work. But we figured it out. And so coming to Goodwin Living and having the chance to serve as president and CEO, one of the things that I recognized quickly was that we were paying a rate that was well under the living wage as defined by, like, MIT has a great wage index that they provide, a living wage index that they provide. And so being able to get there, we were about $6, $5.50 short at the time in 2019 in July. And so our budget year starts in October. So our budgets were coming forward, and I was a brand new CEO and president. And I said, okay, let's take a look at this. I think this is going to have to be one of our priorities. We're going to have to probably increase, but we can't increase it where we need to get to, which at that time was $17.84. So that was about $6 difference. I said, we can't get there tomorrow, but what if we made a plan to get there over the course of 3 years? And we brought out that plan, told the residents that this is the journey that we're on. We're going to ask the residents to pay a little bit more. So maybe instead of 3%, we're going to ask them to pay 3.8% for the next 3 years, but no more than that. And then we'd have to find the other resources behind the scenes. How can we be more efficient? What kind of ways can we save dollars that don't impact the quality and experience of our residents that we're serving? And so fast forward, now today, our minimum pay is $18 an hour for any team member coming in. And we are paying $20 an hour minimum standard for any certified nursing assistant. So it's been a great lift, over 53% increase in pay. And that was before we knew about COVID and all the challenges with healthcare workers, exacerbated by that circumstance as well.
That's incredible. And first of all, I want to applaud you for like being so transparent and talking about this, right? Like, I think it always comes back to communication. I think everything, like successful communication, and the fact that your first step was, I want to communicate with the residents, right? Because, here at Foresight, our goal is, it's to make the lives of those who live and work in senior living better. And that's where you start. You have to have communication, but also you're looking out for your staff as well, which I know, Jordan, I'm sure you have so many questions and thoughts. I wanna let you kind of chime in with questions that you have for Rob, please.
Well, I'm sure that all of our viewers are thinking the same thing. So, Rob, I'm gonna hit you with them. Because I don't, everyone else is probably saying, yeah, okay, but they're all private pay, or they all had to get rid of their benefits. So yeah, they're all working. Yeah, so they're making $17 or $18 an hour, but they don't have any benefits. Or yeah, but they definitely have a very low staffing ratio. There's no way that their residents are being cared for by a fully staffed unit of people. So, I mean, that's three things that I'm throwing out there. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I appreciate all of that, Jordan. And I would say it's not easy work, certainly, to do this. And our chief people officer, Fran Casey, who's been with the organization around 35 years now, she would never let us pull the benefits back if we were, just raising the prices or the wages. So we have a very robust benefit program, and we keep on trying to figure out how to do that, better every day versus pulling it back. It's just a really competitive environment. We see turnover as a key consideration. We know that there's a doubling of older adults occurring in our country right now. And yet we have the lowest birth rates that we've ever experienced. And we don't have a really strong immigration policy either. So, when you have those realities, you have to figure out, how to get there. So for us, we did not diminish. In fact, we've increased our benefit packages. For us to get here, we have 1,100 team members. So we're not a small operator. We've had to do this across all of our team member positions and make that commitment. And I would say that In terms of staffing ratios, we're probably in excess of what most providers are. So we haven't diminished our care. We're 5-star quality in our skilled nursing. We have about 150 suites of direct Medicare, Medicaid skilled nursing that we provide, and another 24 private pay long-term care. So we have a robust program. And the way we did it, though, the way to come around this for us has been, as I said, behind the scenes. So we had a really, really strong financial partnerships with people who had given us suggestions that we could refinance or save a lot of dollars on our bond financing. We have a brand new, chief financial officer who came in, and our former chief financial officer. So Zan Smith, our current, and Richard Carter, our former, both figured out ways to save money on our debt. And so if you can save money on your debt service, you can put that towards your team members. We had a 17-year contract with a therapy partner who was really strong. We loved our therapy partner, but we also recognized we were giving them about 30% of the financial equation. So if we could take those dollars back and put them towards this instead, we thought that could be a really good positive step. So we've had to make some really important decisions and changes, and keep focused on continuity of care and betterment for opportunities for our residents and the people we serve in the general community. But we haven't had to take a step back. And today, what I'll tell you is it's a hard journey to stay on. So we made it to $18. So 1784 was the mark that we had to get across, and we made it. We were super excited. 1784, we passed over that, and then we looked when we got to $18, and we found out that the inflation had hit, and the living wage had moved up to $19.92. So it's like, oh, we were so close, and then we're so far away. And so one of the things we just did, we're just rolling it out today, this last couple of weeks actually, is to give transparency to our full pay structure so that people understand, okay, we provide a 7% match for our 401k in total, and we've done that for years. So what is that valued at? We provide a lot of support for education continuation. What is that valued at? What are people really getting holistically from us as an organization? We provide a complimentary lunch meal for folks. So what does that look like in terms of a value proposition? And so we're sending out a total package so that people can see where they're at in total compensation, not just from a wage perspective.
Rachel, I'm concerned for Rob's safety because I don't know if he can go into our show and say all of these things. And are we even still live? Like, have you been shut down? Like,
we have to put him in witness protection.
It's shocking because every argument that we usually get against raising wages are, if we raise wages, we'll scale back benefits. We can't afford to give you good benefits and give you high wages. And those places that do have high, this is the narrative that is always told. If you do want high wages, go to the private pay places. Like, those are the only, completely private pay is the only way that you can really raise those wages. And you have to really be working by yourself on a floor if you want to. We're going to have to cut our staff in half if you want to get paid more wages. And these are the arguments that we use against paying higher wages, but Goodwin didn't do that.
Yeah, I absolutely. And I'm glad I get to be a good cop. Jordan, this is really fun. So thank you. I don't think I have it in my spirit to play the bad cop. So thank you for taking that on. But I think what particularly I want to, commend you on, Rob, and Goodwin, is the fact that the goalpost keeps being moved on you, right? But you're willing to take the steps and the effort. And I also love with incorporating any new habit into your life. It's not an overnight thing. You came to this with a 3-year plan, so it's not happening overnight. And, as we sort of kind of close the loop on this conversation, because you brought up immigration, and I want to talk about your citizenship program, which I am so thrilled about, and I think is an incredible thing that you guys offer. But I want to come back, and are there any other steps that you want to share? You started with, okay, let's be transparent. Let's talk to the residents. Okay, So now let's do a little detective work here. Where are we spending where we shouldn't be? So would you kind of close the loop on that for us, Rob? What was were there any last steps that you guys took in order to do this pay increase?
Yeah, it's a great question, Rachel. And I would say this work is ongoing, as anyone can imagine. And one of the first things that I did as a new leader actually was I sat down with the longest serving longest serving team members, and then also the longest tenured residents. And I asked them if they were in my position, what would they focus on? And then I came back to them 2 years later, and I said, okay, well, this is what you told me, and wages was a big part of that. And I said, well, have we been achieving what you thought we should, and what else should we be focused on? So I would just say it's a continuous effort. Every day we talk about opportunities to be more efficient, better stewards, and if we can do that, we can put those dollars into the hands of our team members who really are going to be the beneficiaries. And if we do that consistently, they'll be focused on great service and delivery to those that we serve in the market. And if we can do that, then we'll keep this loop an interest of people coming to Goodwin Living and seeking us out as a provider of choice. If we can be an employer of choice, then we can really become and stay to be a provider of choice. And that serves the bottom line really well as we stay fully occupied or relatively fully occupied and have our services continue to grow.
One thing I'd like to point out that the goalpost does keep moving. But the goalpost in care has moved too. And you kind of touched on this. Like we have a larger number of our dependency ratio in this country has grown exponentially. And the level of acuity has also changed as well, in long-term care as a whole. And so the job description for our CNAs and our nurses has changed tremendously since COVID, and then since before COVID. I mean, before COVID, it had changed dramatically, and now it has changed even more. And so as that job description has changed, as CNAs now all need to understand and have an in-depth knowledge of infection control, when that wasn't necessarily something you expected of a CNA before. You understand washing your hands, but having an understanding of infection control on a grander scale wasn't something we expected. And now, as your job has changed, your pay should change.
Absolutely, Jordan. It's gotten much more complicated and much more competitive. And there's so many reasons why people would say, I just don't want to do that work anymore. And we saw that early circumstance in COVID. I think the estimates I've seen are like 400,000 people chose not to continue in our field that were previously a part of it. And we've earned some of those folks back. But ultimately, being attentive to the needs of the team member is always going to be important. I don't do the undercover boss thing very well, but I do spend a lot of time just rounding with and spending intentional time with team members, making sure that I can hear from all different levels. And I want all my leaders to really gain that insight so that we can make sure we have the right pulse and that we're paying attention to the right things that matter for team members. So workforce is looking for balance. You can't expect to hire someone at a higher pay rate, but then tell them that they don't have any extra hands around them to help them with the work. That just doesn't work. We need to all be focused on creating the balance where people want to come into our field. And we spend a lot of time with high school students now and college students. We know we have to recruit much earlier in the process. So we're sharing the story of why this industry and this field is so awesome to be a part of. And the more that we can do that sooner and introduce people at an earlier stage, I think that we're going to really benefit by a future workforce, which is going to be hard to come by. So it's a battle out there.
And I think that's a perfect segue into our citizenship, because you're not only catching them early in their career, but also catching them early and integrating in our society and learning about what jobs are out there. You're hitting them right at the plane gate. So, because it's not at the boat anymore, it's at the gate. Like you're hitting them right at the plane gate. So tell us more about this citizenship program.
Yes.
Yeah, so it started actually with a resident. So all good ideas are good ideas. And so we seek out ideas from everyone and anyone. So if there's a listener on here that's got something that's working really well, we'd love to learn about what you're doing, because we're a learning organization. We're always looking for the next best idea. And one of those great ideas came from a resident, Rita Siebenhaller, who's from our Goodwin House, Bayless Crossroads community. And there's just a real love of our team members from our residents. And I think a lot of places can probably claim that, which is great. I think that's one of the wonderful advantages we have as an employer, is that there's real connection between the people that we have. So for those that seek that real connection, our field is awesome. And so Rita came to us in 2018. This is before I arrived. And she said, I really love our team members, but I know they struggle, and I wonder what else we can do for them. So many of them are, certainly legal to work here, but they don't have citizenship. And there's a real barrier to getting that citizenship. There's a fee that's, over $700 for an application fee. And there's a process. And, I wonder if we can come around our team members and help them through that process. And so very quickly, people took that up as a charge, and we were able to raise funds for that cause through our foundation, which is a nice benefit being a not-for-profit. And since 2018, we've supported 150 individuals. Most of those are our own team members. Some of those are team members' family members now, because we've expanded the program on the path to citizenship. And it is, for me, it is the way that we tell the world that we are an intentional organization of welcome, that we really recognize the importance of the immigrant population in the service field that we have. About 25% of our field is estimated to be initial immigrants. And I will tell you, when we've done our studies and reviews, even today, about 25% of our team members, so out of 1,100, are not officially U.S. citizens yet. So legal to work here, but they're just not quite U.S. citizens. And so we've been able to help so many folks on that journey. And there's so much pride and excitement around that. And this kind of program is not hard to follow. In fact, I think we've got a full playbook that folks can download from goodwinliving.org and find out how to make that a reality for their organization. But it takes a little bit of ingenuity. We do a lot of celebration of folks, and then we keep on coming back to the individuals that we're supporting and telling their stories, because that's the most compelling part of the equation.
Do we have a link to that playbook up? I just want to get yes.
Hey, there it is. That's awesome. Please check this out. The link's right there. I love that.
And you can go back to our episode about citizenship and what will our Careforce look like is the name of that. If you want also partner, like community, there are other communities that are doing this, and there are community partnerships that you can make with in your community to help you connect with those refugees or those immigrants. So that is definitely something that is important as we look to address that dependency ratio that we talked about.
Well, it also creates a huge win for our resident base. So today, every high school student that comes in, every college student that comes in for an internship with us, every person who goes on the citizenship journey, they're married up with a resident mentor. And so there is a real connectivity and synergy that gets created there, and a real love that gets fostered. And so I think having our residents, the list of residents who want to sign up for this is much longer than the number of people we have to support. And so there's just this real yearning and desire to be purposeful and make a difference in people's lives from our residents and those we serve in the community. And so seeing that connection really creates the bonds that I think will serve all of us for years to come. And one question that people ask us is, for citizenship or for our education programs, do we require people to stay with us forever, for a year or 2 years? Do we have them sign a contract? And the answer is no. We really believe as good citizens that we are obligated to support folks. And if they end up doing a different job or working in a different place in senior living, but they've had the opportunity to be a part of our family, they're always going to be a part of our family. And then ultimately we've served the broader good. And so that seems right. And so we never require people to stay with us in that regard.
Wow.
But they do stay longer. I mean, I will tell you, there is a practical application to this. So at least for the folks that go through citizenship program, I can tell you their tenure is at least a year longer than our average team member. So there is a payback. I did go to business school twice, both undergrad and graduate. So I know I have to pay attention to those things as well.
So that brings up an interesting point. I mean, guys, is there a retention issue in senior living? What's that look like? How's that going? And this seems to be helpful, Rob. Tell us more.
Yeah, no, it's super helpful, right? So if you are showing up authentically as an organization who is letting people know that you are welcoming of all backgrounds, that's a starting point. That's a really important starting point. And then we do see that with our citizenship program for sure. You know, we just like everyone else, we've struggled with turnover rates and people, moving on. And some of those we celebrate, and some of those we're like, oh, I wish that didn't happen. Right now this year we're tracking last 3 years and through COVID, we've been around 30% turnover, just under 30% turnover, which I think for some organizations is great, and for others it's too high. This year, with a lot of work, we're trending and tracking around 20 to 25%. So we're seeing a really good step in the right direction. I think we're holding on to people longer because we're listening more. We're having many more conversations with people. Something that we notice, people want to get paid sooner. So there's a lot of folks that our old school thinking is wait 2 weeks after you've done your work, you get paid. But today's workforce isn't interested in that. So now we're able to pay people next day, after they've worked. That's important for organizations like ours to be able to be innovative and stay listening to the team members because they keep on coming up with new ideas and ways that they want to be appreciated.
Absolutely. Wow. Guys, if you're watching right now, and those who are watching, listening, get out the notebook. I'm going old school here. I don't care. You're not sitting at your computer. Get out the notebook. Like, you need to actually write this down. So in addition to downloading the playbook that we've already talked about, get out the notebook, get out the pen. I mean, this is incredible. And I think it goes back to communication and listening, right? Like that is a through line, Jordan, I would say through all of our episodes is hearing the Careforce. Again, I love that term that you brought to my attention, Jordan, and really understanding their needs, because ultimately when you do that, then you're better serving your residents, like you said, Rob. And I think that's beautiful.
I mean, get out the notebook, and these are the things that you need to learn: authenticity, transparency, altruism, community. I mean, we call ourselves communities, senior living communities, but yet, are you acting as a community internally and beyond your doors? And so that community, that stewardship is really just something that as business people, that we should be doing, is just doing good business, being good stewards, and then passing that on to our workforce. I mean, those 4 things, if you can just do those things, be community driven, be altruistic, have good stewardship, and lastly, like, be transparent, be authentic. That is something that that is the purpose, hopefully.
Yes.
That is.
And I would just add, Jordan, I've had the pleasure of working for some really great for-profit entities and quasi for-profit entities as well along the way. And so that word community, every time that we've chosen to be engaged in the broader community and really reach into the high schools and the community around us to be civic minded, it's always paid off tremendously well. It's always paid off with fast lease ups or better outcomes for occupancy of communities that have been around for a long time, but just weren't integrated into the high schools and the community around them. Every time that I've done that over the last 20 plus years, it's always paid off. And so I would absolutely highlight that word in particular.
And as we come up on time, Rob, I love that you brought us back to that point again, that you work with high school and college age people, because that is something I've been like shouting from the rooftops ever since I've been a part of Foresight, because I look at it as obviously building a foundation and building a future. And of course, not in an ageist way. We want anyone that wants to serve with heart and purpose, in this industry and in this space. But at some point you do have to think about, well, what's the foundation and what's the future of, again, this Careforce? What does that look like? And how do you share that messaging of like, there's really cool opportunities here? And I just think that's so incredible. Again, it's going back to this proactive approach rather than waiting to not have any staff and be reactive.
And I'll give you one easy to reach piece of fruit that's right in front of everyone, which is you have team members today. If they have children or grandchildren, invite them in to learn about your organization. We ended up through the foundation being able to provide $1,000 grants to every college student that was a member of a family member that we had working with us. So we invited them all in, and we were able to give 49 scholarships. And about 33 of those people came for an in-person discussion about senior living and what that means for them. And although their parents have been working in the field for a long time, the value we received from that and the number of people who want to work in our field now, based on that, just that one interaction, increased dramatically.
People usually look at churches to be this, or libraries, or these institutions to be these intergenerational, diverse centers and pillars of the community. And no one thinks about their area, senior living, assisted living, nursing home, like their area long-term care or a senior living community as being that pillar. But you can be the pillar of your community and be that intergenerational and diverse thing that drives your community and is purpose driven for your community.
Not only can you be, we should be.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, Rob, we want to let you go. Jordan and I are going to do our little wrap up here. We are so appreciative of your time today.
Rob.
Yes.
Awesome to be with you both. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Jordan.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for everything you shared today. And guys, we will drop that citizenship playbook in the links. Jordan and I are here every Wednesday streaming. We are on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on the Senior Living Foresight LinkedIn page. So guys, join us every Wednesday. And I've shared this before, but going back to Rob's point of your current staff, having them invite their own kids in, my mom did that for me when I was 14 and I got to, she would have me sit with the residents and, it's my moral compass. It's how it has guided me. Oh, real quick, Linda, thank you. Glad you downloaded that. And it was just a really cool experience that I certainly didn't appreciate at that age, but now that I am older, I certainly am just really appreciative of. So this was such a cool conversation.
All the work behind creating more age positivity and combating ageism in this industry is something that I'm all for, that Care is all for. And so we love that. And so that is definitely a part of just running a community and bringing people into that community and just helping us create a future for this industry. I'm glad we got to talk about that today.
That was so fun. I so enjoyed this conversation. And guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for joining us.